all of you all the way down in beautiful Toledo. It's a pleasure to be here. I am Carolyn Trent Sandiford, and I am your facilitator for the UN75 dialogue. You may be wondering what's UN75? Well, it's the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, and what they're doing is igniting a people's debate. Basically, what they're looking at is where are we in terms of creating the future that we want to see. We know today more than ever we are confronted with many issues. Dramatic changes are taking places in our society, in our community, in our country, and in the global space. We see COVID-19 raging, we see flooding, changes in climate, we see issues of democracy, issues in technology, and so on and so forth. There are so many issues confronting us today. And so what the UN wants is to encourage people to start thinking about what the future that they want to see. So together we can all talk about shaping that particular future. And very important are the young people. And one of the key components of this dialogue is to ensure that no one is left behind, that we hear the voices of everyone. And so it's really wonderful to be having this great conversation with young women all the way down from Toledo. And it says a lot about technology, the fact that despite COVID-19, we can still be having this conversation. So what I want to do to start this conversation on the UN dialogue, particularly starting the dialogue and the conversation on your community, your society, your country. And so what I wanted to do was to ask each of you if we can start, and perhaps Samira, you can start the conversation and the others can join in, to introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about the community you live in and some of the challenges that you are confronted with every day. Amira?
Hi, sure. Good morning again to you, Miss Carlin, and to the girls that joined the call. As you know, I'm currently the program officer for Toledo My Women's Council, and the pandemic has definitely created a number of challenges for us as an organization. But I'm grateful that this morning we're still able to have this conversation, and I think it's one that's very needed, especially since we want to see the youth, but particularly women, more involved in decision making. So I want to express from the onstart that I'm grateful that you reached out and that you're looking at youths, but more so the southern districts, to participate in this discussion, because for many times we've been, perhaps not neglected, but left for last. And I think this is an opportune time for us to express what issues we have and how this pandemic is creating a new way of life for us. You know, our girls have known that TMWC's work has been focused in the communities, and since March of this year, we've had very limited contact with these girls. We've had no face-to-face meetings, which is strange. We've had girl clubs going, and it's all on a pause now, simply because we have to ensure the safety of our mentors, but most particularly the community. And we don't want to create a scenario where we're not being considerate considerate of others. So I'm grateful that the girls took on the challenge, and for some it's their first time using Zoom. So
Okay.
thumbs up to you all. You followed the instructions.
Absolutely.
So you know I ask that you all speak up. And Miss Caroline is no stranger. I've known her through my mom for many, many years. And
Ah,
since at work we don't discuss politics, but I met Miss Caroline when she was a PUP senator. My mom was a UDP senator, and it's one of the relationship that has lasted through the years. And Miss Caroline now sits at the UN table, so she still hasn't forgotten about us. So
of
girls,
course not.
Miss Caroline know about the challenges in Toledo. Let's discuss it freely. And she understands Creole, so don't let English be a barrier. Express yourself. We're taking notes, and let the discussion begin.
Thanks a lot, Amira. That's quite true. We've been on this journey together for quite a while, and as I continue to point out in all the dialogues that I do, that one of the key characteristic of this dialogue is really to try to hear from everyone. And I thought it very important to hear from young women, particularly Indigenous women, and some of the issues and challenges that you face in your community. But as important, what are your ideas in terms of solution? One of the things that we keep pointing out and highlighting is that we're in this together. And so the whole theme and concept is how we shape our future together. And one of the principles of the United Nations, of course, is to leave no one behind. And so I see I have Diana, I see Patricia, I see Catalina, I see Claudia, I see Sanoria, and I see Marlene, and I hope I'm pronouncing all these names correct. And so I know Amira said this may be the first time some of you are using Zoom platform. So don't worry, it's pretty easy. What is going to happen now is that if you notice you have on the left of your screen a little icon that says mute, and there is one that says stop video. So what we'll try to do is we'll have a conversation during this process. We're also going to have some polling. And so there is an icon that also says chat. So what I would want for everyone to do is to click on their chat and just put their name in the chat so that I know you're hearing me. That's one. And two, as we start the conversation, I will be asking some questions. And so whenever it's time, I'll be saying to each of you two that, to unmute your mic. And by unmuting your mic, you'll be saying to me that you are ready to talk. So if it's okay, I'm going to ask everybody, just open the chat and put their name in. If that is okay, I will put mine first, right? So at least I know you're in the chat, because I will also be putting some polling questions in the chat for you to click onto and for you to fill out. So we have Diana saying good morning. Can Patricia also put their name in the chat, and Catalina, Claudia, Sanoria, and Marlene, because it's going to say that I know you're listening, you're hearing, and then that's good. Claudia, can you Sanoria and Marlene? So can the three of you just put your name in the chat so I know that we're all on board here? They just click on the chat. There is a little icon in the bottom that says chat. And you just need to click on it and it will open. And then in the bottom, it says type a message here. And you can type your message there. Okay, so we have 3 so far. Great. I see Catalina has put in her name. Okay, so we have Diana, we have Claudia, we have Patricia, we have Catalina. So I'm looking for Marlene. Marlene. And I know internet may be a little challenge down there as well. So Marlene, can you put in your name? Just look to the right of the screen and you're going to see it says type message after you have linked on to the chat. So I have Marlene and Sanoria. If both of you could just put your name in that little chat for me. Click on the chat and then put your name in where it says type message here, okay? Great, so at least we have 4 so far, and of course we've heard from Amira, so we have 5, so I'm hoping the other 2 we're going to see their names in the chat. So let's start the conversation then, and I would like for, I saw Diana put her name first, so maybe Diana, can you unmute your mic? And then can you talk to me a little bit and talk to us a little bit on your community and what are some of the key issues that are happening in your community that you believe that the UN ought to know about?
Good morning, Miss Arlene.
Good morning.
In my village in Pueblo Viejo, the main problem during this pandemic is that most people and young people lost their jobs, so they're just in the village and doing farming.
Okay. And is it that they work in the village before, or did they work outside of the village?
They work outside of the village.
Outside the village, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I see I see Marlene joined as well, and we now have Adelina, and I still see Sanaria. Okay, so Dinah, you were saying that people lost their, young people particularly lost their jobs. More or less, where were they working before?
Some were working at the island, resorts.
Okay.
Because they depend more on tourism.
Tourism, okay. So let's hear then from Claudia. Claudia, which village you come from and what are some of the issues that are happening in your village now?
Good morning, Miss Caroline, and good morning to everybody. I'm from Big Falls. I work with Amira, with the organization. I'm the community mobilizer. Issues that are affecting our community is more like what Diana have said. No, some people lost their jobs. You know, a lot of people work on tourism. With this pandemic, you know, people are struggling, you know, and like she said, a lot of people depend on the farming. So I think that we should, you know, look clearly on these people, especially the elders. They are the ones, you know, who are getting affected because, you know, they depend on their children, you know, to provide for them. So for me, I think more about the elders, and you know, I won't want them, you know, to catch, you know, the virus, because then it would be very difficult for them.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Great, thanks, Claudia.
You're welcome.
Patricia? Is Patricia still with us? Patricia, can you unmute and tell us what village you come from and what are some of the issues that are happening in your village today? What are some of your problems, your concerns? Patricia seemed to have, her internet seemed to have. Okay, so let's hear from Catalina. Catalina, can you talk to us a little bit about your village and what's happening in your village?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Miss Caroline. Okay, Catalina speaking. Looking at the concern we need. Well, I'm from Big Falls.
Okay.
Looking at the concern we need would be mostly garbage. I would look at where we can make use of the garbage. We can always use them back. Recycle could be the main important issue, but the problem is that we cannot come to a part that we can do the job.
Okay.
And then looking at our area, mostly people are, well, especially the trees, we need trees in our village, we need oxygen. Mostly people are chopping down the trees.
Okay. So you're having
We need to plant,
deforestation.
yes, we need to plant trees. We need to
Okay.
plant along the roadsides or something we need to do so that we can become more developed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, Catalina. And so
Thanks.
let's see, Marlene.
Morning, I'm Patricia.
Oh, Patricia, you're back with us. Okay. Go right
Yes.
ahead, Patricia.
Yes, my name is Patricia and I'm from Big Falls Village and I'm currently volunteering with TMWC and it was a great pleasure for me to join. And the challenges I'm noticing in my village is the healthcare center. Many cases have been rising this side and then the healthcare is like closing here and more focusing on the main hospital. So I believe that was one of the main issue. And to reopen the healthcare and to look over these patients, like to fight for this COVID and to save lives for our elders.
Okay. So is it that you're saying that there is a clinic in the Big Falls and they're closing it down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. And that is going to affect your community, particularly as it relates to COVID-19.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So let's see then, Marlene. Marlene, are you with us? Marlene? Okay, all right, good, you got you. Go right ahead, Marlene.
Hello, good morning. I'm Marlene from Hikiti.
From Hikiti?
Yes.
All right, cool.
And well, as I can see in my community here, most of we are complaining about the garbage, and some are complaining about their job. Well, so far, the mostly what I like to help there with is the garbage, because that is our issue here, garbage disposal.
Okay.
So
okay, so that's your main issue in Hikati.
Yes.
Okay. Let's then hear from who haven't spoken yet. Sanoria? Can we hear from you, Sanoria? Sanoria? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sanoria Choko and I'm from Big Falls. I'm volunteering with the TMWC. And our main issue is with the garbage disposal, because many people complain about the garbage and lack of jobs, like how now we're in the pandemic with this COVID-19.
Okay.
and the most of the people depend on tourism, and now they can't do anything else except farming because due to the COVID-19.
Okay.
So we would mostly our complaint in the community is about the garbage disposal.
Okay. Good. All right, Sanaria, it seems that garbage seems to be a big issue. That's a key public health issue. It's also an issue that is affected and can impact on climate change. Let's hear from Adelina. Okay, Adelina. And we haven't heard from Anna either. So we have Anna and then Adelina. Anna, I see your mic is on mute. Is unmuted. Can you go ahead, Anna? Hello, Anna?
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
My name is Anna Koch. I was participating as a mentor in San Marcos.
Okay, what village you from, Anna? Anna, what village are you from?
I am from San Marcos. I was working as a
San Marcos?
Yes.
Okay. What are the issues in San Marcos? What's happening in San Marcos?
Anna? I can't hear you too much.
Oh, you can't hear? Okay, okay. If you can put in the chat, you could just click on the chat and then you could state what are the key issues or key problem areas in San Marcos. Okay? And I think the last person was Adelina. Adelina?
Yes.
Hi, Adelina. Which village you from?
Morning. My name is Adelina Baki from San Marcos.
Okay. You're from San Marcos too, like Anna?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So what are the issues in San Marcos? What's happening in San Marcos?
Well, the issue in San Marcos I can see is maybe healthcare. I think we need a health post.
Okay.
Like in my situation, I'm a community health worker.
Okay.
I noticed the village need a health post to provide minor medication.
Okay.
Like Tylenol and Benadryl for the kids. And at least we have a post, we know that it's prepared, that, that the mothers can go there and care the babies. So they have a healthy post instead of using the community center.
Okay.
Because the chairman and the alcalde use that. So I guess as a community health worker, we need a health post, and for the patient, we need so they can have a proper proper post, and for and going to the hospital, it's bus transportation for now for COVID.
Wow.
It's very hard because we live in the village and only Wednesday and Friday the village bus travel now. So that's why I say it's very important to have a health post.
Okay.
To the community. And for me, a big issue too, I think the San Marcos need a school library. I think the print's very low in reading. They need like that library so the children can often visit the library, whether the school is closed or open. They just need to have that time.
Okay.
The children go to the library and they have maybe a week to read the books, so they can educate more instead of staying at home now. some don't even own a books at home.
Okay.
So for COVID, you know, everybody need to learn.
Learn,
For
yeah.
children.
So let me ask a question as you brought that up. With COVID-19 and the children at home, how is it that they're learning? Are they able to access online learning in your villages?
No online. It's just pick up homework.
Okay.
But I noticed like only I think 2 times. And then if just doing their homework and then there's no books to read still, for me that's still low. So I wanted children learn more.
Okay.
By reading they can learn or seeing pictures.
Okay. So what you have then in San Marcos, from what I've been hearing, you're talking about issues of healthcare and you're talking about issues for education.
Yes.
Right? Great. So those are some great points. Those are some really great contributions. And each village seemed to have its own issues because we've heard about garbage issues. We've heard about unemployment. We've heard about deforestation. Healthcare particularly seemed to be jumping out. Let me ask you all, let's see if this can work. We're going to try something. I've put a link in the chat. And if everyone is seeing the link, can you all click on to that link? And it is supposed, we're going to try it. If this works, then we will see. It's a poll, and what I want you all to do for this poll for me, it's asking a question, and the question to you is, if you were advising the United Nations right now, what action would you ask them to do immediately to address some of these problems that you have raised? So I've put the poll in, I've put it, it's in the chat. I'm asking everyone if you can click on it, and you simply put what would be the priority action that you would want the UN to take on right now to deal with some of these issues that you have raised. You have raised about garbage, you've raised about unemployment, you've raised about healthcare, in particular COVID-19. You've raised about transportation issues because you spoke about the bus. You've raised about the fact that because of tourism and because many people work in the tourism industry, there is high unemployment. So you've spoken about deforestation as well, environmental destruction. You've spoken about healthcare. So let's try this. Let's see if you can click on to the link and put in that link. It will ask you the question, what should be the immediate priority actions of the government of Belize and the United Nations to address this problem? And it says, it will say to you, enter a word, enter another word, and submit. So are you able to see it? Just checking that you're able to see it. The question is, what should be the immediately priority action to address these challenges? And if we can't do it like this, what I will do, we'll put it in the chat. But let's try this for a minute or two to see if this will work, if the polling will work. I will just try one.
What can be the answer?
Oh boy, I may have gone out. Oh boy. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so I tried it. Were you able to try it? Let me see. Let me see here. I'm having a slight trouble. I'm having a slight challenge here. Let me see if I can get Zana to give me a hand here. Because I'm not seeing it coming up. Are you able to see it?
Hi, Miss Caroline. I already submit.
Okay. Hold on, hold on. Okay, actually, I'm not seeing the results. I'm supposed to be seeing it. So I'm trying to get Zana to see if she can create the results, get the results on the screen for us so that we can see it. Okay, this is a little technical issue here. Okay, so here what we're going to do. What we're going to do, we're going to ask everybody, and I'm going to write it down until I can get Zana to connect us back. Okay, she says she'll try to get back to us. So in the meantime, what we're going to do to make life easier, I love it. So you already recorded, so that means you would have submitted it, and I'm going to get Zana to upload the results for us as soon as she gets back in touch with us. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you all to unmute one at a time. I'm going to call your name, and I'm going to ask you to tell me what would be your immediate action that you would want to see the UN take on. Okay? So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to call the names, and then I'm going to ask you to unmute. And then have you speak to what that immediate action would be. So Anna?
Hello?
Yes, Anna, could you tell us what would be your immediate action that you would want the UN to do? Anna, are you hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So remember we spoke about what are some of the key problems that you're facing. So the question then is, what should be the priority action of the United Nations to address that problem that you shared? What would that be?
Well, I think to meet others, like we could have meeting and plan to help those, like if we want a building about healthcare here in San Marcos, we should do a meeting and plan how we could do it. How could we pick building so that the community could be better?
Okay. So you're saying you're saying that one of the actions you would want the UN to do is to assist you all in terms of meeting, so you all could plan and organize to have a building that can provide healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. That sounds good. Let me see. Patricia, I'm just going to call names and ask you to just share what would be your immediate action that you want to see. Patricia? Patricia, you're hearing? Okay, let's go to Catalina. Catalina?
Good morning once again.
Yes, yes, Catalina. So what would be your advice? What would you say to the UN in terms of advising them what action you would want to see, what priority action you would want to see take place in your community?
Okay. I would like the UN to work hand in hand with the government.
Okay.
So that they can look at the Toledo district on a main.
Okay.
Because Toledo on a whole is forgotten for very such long time. And let us have a word as a group, the TMWC. Let them work with us and have those planning and how they can work with us and help us as a community.
Okay.
It's not just
so
one needed assistance. There are 31 communities.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. We need to work together. And looking at the cultures, people are forgotten their cultures. So we need to get up and go out and try to convince people how we can make this work and benefit to the community.
Okay. So your advice at this point, you're saying that what you would want to see the UN provide is support for the Toledo district as a whole to come together to address some of the problems that you have, because you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it one community. Okay, good. Let me make sure I write everything right, you see? So I repeat, right? Good. Thanks, Catalina. All right, Diana?
Welcome.
Diana? Can you unmute and then you respond to the question, Diana?
Okay. As for my situation, I was talking about what is the main thing I see that the UN could provide is a small entrepreneur skills for businesses to work in hand to gain at least some profits for the family.
That's why the answer reading so message.
All right.
And also, as what Adelina mentioned, that we don't have a library in the village, so we need some reading books to be issued out to students in home so they can do their practices on reading.
Okay. Great. So you're saying that two key action you would want to see happen is one, you want to get support for entrepreneurial skills so people can create jobs and have an income. And then the other one is that you can get reading books so that the children can be reading, because now because of COVID-19, initially you were saying that the children are not getting the education and they don't have access to books, so they need books, right?
Yes.
Great, that sounds good. Okay, Diana, let's hear from Claudia.
Okay, here, Claudia here. I think what my action is to have the government look on the healthcare. I think healthcare is a priority, because if we don't, or if they don't look into this healthcare, we will be dying like animals on the street. So I think that, you know, you and the government, the UN and the government, could, come to a close, or come to how you can support. And it's not only up in the north, up in the west. I mean, it's from Corozal to Toledo. And I think that the healthcare is a very is something that we all should, or they should all prioritize. Yes.
Okay, good. So your priority action is healthcare.
Yes.
Great. Okay, Claudia, let's hear from Marlene. Marlene? Marlene, are you hearing? Can you unmute if you're answering? And if you feel like putting it in the chat, please do so as well, because it can also be something that you speak of, or you can put it in the chat. I know some of you have voted, but I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here because I'm not unable right now to see the results of the poll. So this is why I'm asking to ensure that I am capturing the information from you. Okay, so Marlene. All right, seems Marlene may not be picking us up. Adelina?
Morning again.
Okay. So what would your priority action be, Adelina?
Well, my priority action will be, I would like the government and the union work together. Like in my community case, I guess we need a health post, like I said.
Okay.
It's very helpful for the villagers. They will be happy if they have a health post, especially in this COVID.
Okay. So healthcare again, healthcare. Okay.
Same thing with the education, the library for the kids, for the primary especially. I think we need to work with the leaders. We need to work with them along. So we talk about it and to see how this library come up and to distribute books to the children so they learn more.
Okay, that's good. So we have again healthcare and education, particularly for the children. That's a priority action for you and your community. All right. I'm not sure who is Galaxy A11. So because I don't have a name, I'm asking Galaxy 11 if you want to unmute and speak to us about your priority action, what that priority action would be. Galaxy 11, A11, all right. Okay, so I've heard from most of you. Okay, Galaxy 11, go right ahead. I see you on mute.
Morning. My name's Naomi.
Who am I speaking to? Naomi?
Naomi. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm Naomi. What village you from, Naomi?
San Felipe.
Huh?
Okay, San Felipe.
Oh, you're from San Felipe.
Yes.
Okay, great. So what are the issues in your community and what would be your advice? What would you say to the UN that they ought to do now?
As my other colleagues has mentioned, the health post.
Okay,
healthcare. I believe that we're in need of a healthcare, and the next thing is library for kids. You know that kids are not going to school anymore. We would like maybe books to issue out to kids for them to read and so on.
Okay, that's the issue. Okay, that's interesting. Good. So again, your two priority action will be healthcare based via our health posts and the library and the distribution of books to the children who are not, because they're not going to school. That's great. So is there anybody else who have not spoken and would like to speak? Just unmute your phone. I think we've heard from Naomi, and I'll use Naomi, I'll say AKA Galaxy A11. We have heard a little from Anna, from Catalina, from Dinah, from Claudia, and from Adelina. So anybody else wish to add anything? And
yes,
before
sorry,
we move
my
on?
screen wasn't working.
So go right ahead. Anna, is it Anna?
No, Patricia.
Oh, Patricia. All right, go ahead, Patricia.
Yes, the main.
All right, yes, I'm seeing you on mute now. Go ahead.
The priority I see is the healthcare. I would suggest they
Okay.
do a plan first and then seek for attention and to provide sufficient medication. And then
Okay.
advice I would say is for the UN and the government to keep that country relationship in assisting whatever they can, especially in these
Okay.
hard times.
Okay. So again, you're speaking about healthcare because you're saying that things like medication are not there, and you want to see a better coordination between the country and the UN to address some of the issues you'd have during this hard time. Am I
Yes,
correct? Great.
yes.
Good. So we had quite we have discussed so far some of the issues and the challenges that are confronting your community. And you've also been giving some advice to the UN and basically saying to the UN that these ought to be your priority actions in terms of what you would want to see to address these challenges. And those priority actions focus to a large extent on healthcare, on education. You spoke about entrepreneurial skills. You spoke about particularly things like reading books for the children. So those are some of the issues that you come out and asking for collaboration between the communities, between the government, and between the UN. Now we're going to move on to another question, and I won't put it in the poll at this time because unless Zana is with us, I think I may end up having a challenge in trying to access the poll. So I'm going to just speak to you about our next question. And then again, I want you to be able to do either of two things. You can put your response in the chat, or you can unmute and you can speak to the question. Now, the UN will be celebrating its 100 years in the year 2045. That's 25 years from now. Now, I know you are all young women, young Indigenous women coming out of the Toledo district. But I have no doubt that from time to time, you think about the future. You think about what kind of future you would want to see, both for Belize, and Belize is a member of the global community. So what you want to see for the future is also contributing to what the global community wants to see for the future. Now, 2045, I want to ask you if you think that the people of Belize and the people of your community are going to be better off, are they going to be worse off, or do you think they're going to be the same as they are today? In other words, do you have hope for the future, 2045? Or are you seeing what is happening in your community that it's going to be the same? Or do you think your communities are going to be worse off? So anybody want to tackle that one? And just unmute if you, and then I will call you up. I will call your name. So if you want to tackle that one, we're just asking the question that, UN is going to be 100 years in 2045. And as young people, I can't declare myself young anymore, young at heart maybe. But as young persons, the future is out there for you, in 2045. So the question then becomes, do you have hope for the future? Do you believe that things are going to be better in your community and in the country and in the world? Do you think it's going to be the same as you're seeing it today? Or do you think it's going to be worse off? Anybody want to take on that? Anybody? I see Adelina, you are on mute, but I think you've always had yours unmuted. So I don't know if you want to take that on, or Anna? Anna, you want to take that on?
Good morning once again. You hear me? Hello? Oh, the internet.
It's muted, है. You need to say the same thing. I hear Miss Caroline. You need to type that in. It's mute already. Are you able to hear me now?
Hello? Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Let's see. Are you here? Oh, great. I was, and my internet got knocked off. You see, I'm in Belize City, and the internet gets knocked off. So it says to you that the internet can be knocked off anyway. Yes. So coming back to my question, do you think in 2045, the people in Belize and the world, in your community, are they going to be better off? Are they going to be worse off, or are they going to be the same? Do you see anything happening? Do you see change? Do you think change is going to happen in your community? Anybody want to take that on? I see Anna and Adelina's unmuted.
I can try, Miss
Claudia. Okay, go ahead,
Yes.
Claudia. Go ahead.
Okay. Like you've mentioned, in 2045 we will be celebrating 100 years.
That's right.
You were asking if our country and the community will be better off, worse off, or the same.
Yeah. What you think?
Hopes in 2045. I think if we continue to work together, collaborate together, I think we would be way better off.
Okay.
Maybe in 2045 I would be around 60 years. Who knows if we're still alive?
Okay.
I think our country and our community will be better off.
Excellent.
In my opinion. Yes.
Great.
Okay.
That sounds so you're optimistic for the future, and I like how you speak of collaboration, because when we're finished, we're going to go to that particular question as to whether you think collaboration is important. So I'm glad you've brought it up, and even some of you have already brought it up earlier, to say that there needs to be collaboration between the government, between the UN, and between the community. Now, anybody else want to take on that question? Anybody else? Anybody else want to take on the question? Claudia says she has hope. Do you all have hope? Anybody else have hope? Want to talk a little bit about why they have hope, or why they feel that things may remain the same, or that things may be worse off? Anybody?
Okay. What Claudia mentioned, I agree with her, and I'm hoping for the future to be developed and be more cooperated with the government and the community.
Okay. So you're saying, Diana, you're optimistic about the future. You're optimistic that if there is collaboration, that your community is going to be more developed. Is that it?
Yes.
All right, good. Okay, let's say maybe one more. Can we have maybe have one or two more persons telling us what they feel? Anybody? Anybody else wants to say anything?
Hi,
Catalina?
yes, Catalina.
Okay, Catalina.
My opinion, yes, I know that I won't say I would live till the next who will and be one of the same person who will volunteer for the same group.
Could you repeat for me, Catalina? I missed a little bit in the first part because the internet for me seemed to gone a little. Could you start from the beginning for me? I'm hearing you good now.
Yes, I'm saying is that I'm not saying that I would live until 2045, but I know there are future generation who will grow up and become someone very educated rather than me. So who will take up the post and do other works that can be done in the community. So I'm hoping that we will get developed and to further the planning and working together.
Okay, that's good. So what you're saying is that you are hopeful that by 2045 that you would have persons who are very educated. You said more than you. I have no doubt you are very educated because you're speaking well to the issues. That you'll have that they will be working in the community like you have done and working together, and that by that time you're hopeful that your community will be more developed. So am I correct?
Yes.
Great. That's wonderful.
Okay, thank
any other person may want to speak before we move on to and we're beginning the process of beginning the process of now winding down. But anybody else want to say anything? Anything addition that how they feel about the future?
Hi, Miss Carolyn, if I could.
Of course, Samira. Let's hear you.
Baby. I like to add, I'm hopeful, and I'll share why I'm hopeful.
Okay.
When I joined TMWC, I started as a volunteer.
Okay.
And it was because I was always out. I was always impressed by the work that was done by the organization.
Okay.
And I had this passion for driving. I mean, I still does. Driving is my hobby, and whenever I need to de-stress, I take a drive. Okay. And moving from point A to point B allowed me to see life in the communities as it was, not from someone's version or from their interpretation of what village life was or what the issues were, especially when it concerned women and children.
Okay.
So each trip gave me an opportunity to see firsthand these realities. I became more involved. I started to assist in project implementation until I became the program officer. I've been employed for more than 10 years with TMWC, and the organization has grown. We now work with more young women and girls between the ages of 10 to 18.
Okay.
And one of my dreams back then was to see every girl in school.
Okay.
To share the opportunities I had growing up with them. Now, you might, for many, that's wishful thinking because it can't be done as an individual. It's a community effort. It has to be something with lots of funds because education is expensive. So since 2015, we've gotten small projects to assist in creating a baseline for 10 rural communities to find out the realities of girls and to implement a curriculum that would encourage girls to stay in school. And one of the results of this of those two projects was that one of the most costly and one of the hardest things to change is the mindset. And many of us have been made to believe that a woman belongs in the kitchen. Girls need to learn to do housework. Girls need to be dressed this way. Girls shouldn't be allowed to express their opinions. And for this change, for my dream to become a reality, one, we need to get all parties involved. And if I'm looking towards 2045, I will hope that government starts to support the programs of TMWC to assist and provide, probably not free education because education is expensive, but to provide programs that will allow parents to give an education to their girl child. So education would not be a choice of whether the boy or girl goes to school. It would be a decision where the girl must go to school. Secondly, to have economic programs in place that will support women entrepreneurs, whether it has to do with sewing, cooking, marketing, whatever the desire might be, that there's a program in place to support that. I also would like to see a better rollout of the healthcare system. We hear about some of the communities not having a health post, which is very true. We have NHI, we have the satellite clinics, but with the pandemic now, these satellite clinics will be closed and everyone would be required to go to Punta Gorda town.
Wow,
And one, it's expensive and it becomes even more difficult to access the basic needs. A little Tylenol. We know we're in the flu season, so and in Toledo it rains almost every day. We don't have, many of us don't have the proper clothing. Not everyone doesn't have a pair of boots or raincoat to protect against the flu. So having to expose ourselves more in this weather makes it a bit more chaotic on the health system, but it also promotes the spread of COVID-19, which is definitely not what we want to see. So if we could have a better health care in place that would not benefit just the urban areas, but the rural communities where the need is necessary, even if it's just a health post, but have the health post offer the basic needs to address flu symptoms, to address a fever, to have a nurse or a doctor to deal with prenatal, to offer the the proper prenatal care would be beneficial. And in 2045, I sure hope that, you know, it would be enough time for us to create a plan that will benefit all. I also see crime on the rise. You know, implement more social programs that would discourage crime. You know, I firmly believe that if you have something to do, then you're not too busy in thinking about nonsense. So to have more programs that will keep the youth involved will also be beneficial. And when it comes to the environment, we're hearing about the blue economy. I think it's something good, but make it more accessible to all. Implement resources that will generate income for everybody. And I surely believe that collaboration is a necessity. We can't just have NGOs working alone. The government cannot work alone. So if we continue discussions like these to not only hear but to implement and to adapt to the issues and the recommendations, then I surely think that 2045, even if I'm not here, would be a year where my child would be proud of, you know, and would be able to live a better life, a life that's more equal for both boy and girl. My two cents.
Excellent. So to some extent, actually, I shouldn't even say to some extent, I should say, you've really led me right to the other question that I was going to go. So it is wonderful because you highlighted, Amira, quite a number of issues as to why you are supporting, why you have some optimism for the future based on your experience going around the communities. And you spoke to a number of issues, closing off with gender equality, because basically you're saying by 2045 you want to see life better for your children. And I think we got that from someone else as well. But you're also saying in order for that to happen, you speak to the issues of healthcare as well. You speak to and it's not just healthcare surrounding COVID, but it's also about healthcare surrounding the flu and the rainy season, which is something that is constant in Toledo. You speak about ensuring that rural communities have a basic need. So it is not just about COVID-19, it's really about healthcare in general, because you spoke to issues of prenatal care, to have doctors, to have a nurse, and then you also introduce the issue of crime. So clearly you're beginning to see also rise in crime and violence. And you're saying that in order for 2045 to be this place where we ought to have a better quality of life, we need from now to start focusing on programs, social programs that will make sure that the youths are busy. And so you also made mention that the issue ought not to be, and going back to the concept of gender equality, you made mention that the issue ought to not be a choice of whether a boy going to school, but really that girls should be going to school. And that because there's this mindset that you all are working on that needs to change, that says that boys ought to go to school, but women, young girls, supposed to be doing housework. They're not supposed to be expressing their opinion. And so your dream for 2045 is really to capture it in so many different ways, and ending with addressing gender equality by 2045. So I think those are some great points, and which then leads me to leading into what I would call my last three questions, if you can bear with me. The next one, I think you all have been answering, but I will still ask it. And because my next question is, having said all that you have said, in going through what are the immediate issues, why is it you're optimistic about 2045, the things that you would want to see? Because remember, we're having this conversation about shaping our future and shaping our future together. And particularly, UN is asking some key questions, and you all have been answering them. They're asking what kind of future we want to create, and that is something that you all have been talking about. They're also asking, are we on track? So clearly, we're not there because of all that is happening. And then what action is needed to bridge that gap? And you've been talking about both the actions in terms of immediate, what you want to see now, as well as the things that you would want to see down the future. And that is what puts the optimism or the hope that things are going to be better. So my other question then comes is, and I would like to ask you to place it in the chat for me, and I will be reading them off as we go along. The question is global cooperation through the United Nations vital to deal with the challenges of today and the future? So to capture that question, we are asking whether you believe that cooperation, particularly global cooperation, and global cooperation through the United Nations, whether it is vital to deal with the challenges of today and the future. So you've listed, you've spoken about all these issues, all these challenges, and the actions. Now, do you think UN is vital to dealing with this? So I want you put in the chat, yes or no. Do you think that the UN is vital for this cooperation? So you could just put it in the chat and I'm going to read it off. If you want to unmute and speak to it, that is okay also. So you have the choice of putting in the chat. Okay, so we are already seeing, we see yes, that UN is vital. Anybody else want to add to the chat or unmute your mic if you wish to speak? All right, so I keep seeing yes, 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 yes. So that's good. So we're saying that UN is vital to this cooperation that is needed to bring about the changes that you all have been talking about. So let's see, we continue to get yes, 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 yes. So we have 7 yes so far. This is so good. If anyone wishes to speak on the matter, just unmute. We're good to go. But most of you seem to be preferring the chat to put it in. And so we have 8, which is great. So 8 of you so far out of the 10 have said yes, that the UN is vital. Now, my second to last question, because we're winding down now. I want to ask the question, how would you describe the UN in one word? How would you describe the UN in one word? What would be a word for you to describe the United Nations? And again, you can put it in the chat and I'm going to read it off. If you want to unmute and speak to that word, I am okay with that as well. So you have a choice. You can either unmute, and I'm watching it. I know Adelina has always been unmuted, so I'm not sure if she wants to speak to it. But anybody else, if you want to speak to it, you can, or put the word in the chat. So the question is, how would you describe the United Nations? One word. One single word. If you want to put 2, that's okay too. Okay, so just put any word in the chat, and let's hear what you have to say. Anybody wants to take a spin at it? Okay, great. I'm seeing from Diana, united. Okay. So what would be your word for the United Nations? Anybody? Let's see, maybe 3 or 4 more would be great. A chain with many links. Wow, that's good. So we have united, we have a chain with many links. Anything else? Anybody else wants to add? Power to woman. Wow, that's great. Power to woman, a chain with many links, united. Anything else? Any other word? If you want to unmute, feel free to unmute as well. You can put it in the chat. United or unity. So united seems to be a word that's progressive. Wow. Okay. So we see united. We see a chain with many links. We see power to woman. We see united or unity. We see progressive. We see social progress. Wow, so 6, we've had 6 comments. United, a chain with many links, power to woman, united or unity, progressive, social progress. So the last question I have for you, collaboration, great. That's great. So we have collaboration, we have social progress, we have progressive, united or unity, power to woman, a chain with many links, united. If anybody else, we can still keep the words coming as we go to a final question for this session today before we close off. And my final question, and I want to again give the choice of either unmuting or putting it in the chat. So my final question for you today is, how can the United Nations better manage the challenges? In other words, you've spoken to quite a lot, and we've been talking about collaboration is important. What else would you add to say to the United Nations, this is what you need to do so that the challenges that we have, the problems that we have, can be addressed? What should they do better? Anybody wish to take that on? What can the United Nations do better to manage these problems? Anybody want? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute. This would be a great one for us to finish with. You've said so many great words about United Nations, united, a chain with many links, power to woman, united or unity, progressive, social progress, collaboration. What would you say to the United Nations and say, what can you do better so that you can help us to address these problems? Anybody? Amira, you want to take that one for us?
Sure, Miss Carolyn.
Yes, you can lead this conversation on this.
I believe that for this to take place, we could, or UN could, not we, but the UN can create a roadmap.
Okay.
That would allow the parties involved to voice clearly issues, recommendations, and then move towards the change in a true collaborating effort.
Okay.
So I would suggest that we create a roadmap to track and to enforce, because I've seen that many times we participate in discussions, we we give feedbacks, we offer recommendations, and nothing, no specific change comes about.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
believe that by creating this roadmap and to have everyone move through phase by phase together, then more than likely we will see this change.
Okay, that sounds good. So you're saying that what you would want to see the UN do or do better is to provide you all with feedback, that when you come to consultations and you make your recommendations, that you would want to hear back as to what are the status of those recommendations.
Yes.
You want a feedback, a report back, that it's not just a case of, all right, we come to you, we ask you what's happening, these are the issues, you make your recommendations, but then nobody comes back to you and report and say, you know what, you made 10 recommendations, we were able to address 2, we were unable to address 3, and the reason why it did not happen, more or less. That is what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So that's a great recommendation. Is anybody else want to add to what Amira has said? You can do so in the chat, or you can unmute the mic and let the UN know how you think they can do better in terms of managing these problems. How can they improve the way they do things to ensure that the problems and the challenges that you speak of can be dealt with. Amira has said one way is to ensure that when there is consultations, that they report back as to what is the status of the recommendations, whether they were accepted, whether they were acted upon, so that people who are consulted are aware that their recommendations were taken into consideration and what is the status of that. Anybody else want to ask anything? Say anything? Any last word? Okay, Claudia, go ahead.
Okay, how can UN better manage the challenge or the challenges? I think by helping, other parties to become one, for example, other organizations, and I know you've been working with different parties, allow peace, develop a friendly relation among all of the organization. So I think if we all come together as one, I think we all, not only UN, but everybody can better manage, whatever the issue may be.
Okay, that's great. So if I can capture it, basically what you're saying, if the UN can create this platform in which all the parties, all the agents, organizations, people who are involved, if everybody can come together and work together,
yes,
in a peaceful, in a friendly way, that is the only way that we can move the communities or the country or the global, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they could assist in terms of creating that platform. So it's almost like, you want people to be working together, not competing against each other.
Yes, yes.
Kind of thing. Okay, good. Great, Claudia. Excellent. Anybody else want to add to what Claudia and Amira has said? Anyone? Just your thoughts on how the UN could improve, how it operates, particularly to address those problems and challenges that we spoke about earlier, and to create this world of 2045 that you're hopeful of, that you have optimism for. Anybody else? All right, I see from Diana. Diana said we need cooperation to happen with the organizations. From Naomi, feedback and progress, and as was mentioned, come in unity and make it happen. Feedback. So those are again 2 more. So we speak then of feedback, we speak of cooperation, we speak of creating platforms that organizations can work together Anybody else? Anyone? Any last words? And if anybody else want to add anything to this as we close off? This is it. We're about to close off our conversation.
Hello?
Okay. Yes?
This is Catalina again.
Hi, Catalina. Go right ahead.
Yes. To make this organization continue, and I want it to continue because I like the idea that they focus on women and girls. Not only women and girls, but also the young boys growing up. Because if you look at the criminal, mostly you're hearing the news that boys are involved in shooting and gangs. So let us work together. Let us have this meeting with our group so that we can continue and work in the community. And the most thing we would like is to have trainees person to come and train us, or have a scholarship so that our girls, our group, continue to work hand in hand with the government and with the UN.
Okay. Excellent. So you're saying that what you would want to see is that they continue to work with women and girls, continue to work with the group, the organization that you're involved in, help with training, a way in which they can manage these challenges better, is for them to help train people, to build capacity, to offer scholarships, to work hand in hand, but not only to work with women and girls, but also young boys.
Yes.
Because you're saying that young boys are the ones who are moving into criminal activity. So that is some area in which we could work together. Anna is saying, but to work together as one as well. Okay, so we got quite a lot of ideas for change, recommendations as to how things can be better. You've given your guidance as to what priority actions the UN should be addressing in terms of now, immediate, as well as for the future. You've shared your optimism of moving into 2045. And you've also gave the UN some identify how you see the UN, your perception of them, and you have given some recommendations as to how they can improve each other. So as I close, I want to thank you. I've put in the chat online survey. It's HTTPS UN75 online. I'm going to ask each of you to click onto it and to answer a UN online survey. It only takes about a minute. And again, if you're unable to do so now, I'm asking that you do so as soon as possible. I would love for you to do it as the link is here. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Again, like I said, the guiding principle for the UN is leave no one behind, to hear what the young people and women have to say about the future and how together the ideas for change that you bring about that contributes to all of us together shaping the future. And basically also speaking to what are some of the things that we need to do to ensure that the future that you envisage and have hope for comes about. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate your being here. And this dialogue doesn't stop. It will continue, and we will certainly be keeping you engaged and informed as we continue the dialogue moving into 2021. So thanks again. I really appreciate it. It was a wonderful experience, and I am hopeful after COVID-19, I find my way down to Toledo into some of these great villages and come and say hi to you all. Okay? Thanks a lot. I do appreciate it. Bye-bye.